الله. حياكم الله جميعا. أنا وليد الزعيفن، وهذا أول ورشة أو هذه أول ورشة عمل إن شاء الله من أيس ذا كيس، مقدمة من KCC. فكرة البرنامج أو فكرة أيس ذا كيس باختصار تقوم على بناء خلينا نقول مكتبة أو أرشيف إن شاء الله للناس المهتمة في مجال الكونسولتنج من ناحية استعداد وتدريب للكيس انترفيوز اللي بتساعدكم إن شاء الله أو بتساعد المهتمين في الوصول إلى أفضل الشركات في مجال الكونسولتنج بإذن الله. باختصار شديد كل مرة راح يكون معنا، ما راح أقول ضيف، راح نقول شريك إن شاء الله. اليوم معنا ضيف أو شريك نجاح رهيب جدا، الوليد، وعندنا برضو كل مرة راح تكون كيس مختلفة إن شاء الله باختلاف أنواع الكيسز، وعلى أساس تكون براكتس تدريب واستعداد إن شاء الله للانترفيوز. باختصار راح تكون إن شاء الله 5 دقائق انترودكشن كل مرة، ثم برضو من ضمنها تعريف الضيف، ثم إن شاء الله ننتقل للكيس، وآخر شيء نختم في الأسئلة. طيب ودي نرحب بضيفنا الوليد. حياك الله.
يا هلا والله، ايش هذه الصور الحلوه ما شاء الله، ما جايبينها؟
هذه يا طويل العمر والسلامة اجتهاد شخصي منك طال عمرك.
الله يعطيكم العافيه والله.
الله يحييك وشكرا لك، ونتمنى ان شاء الله نستفيد اليوم، ودي تنطلق يعني وتسوي لنا توب شيرنج، وممكن تسوي شير انت افضل على اساس يكون عندك الوضع اسهل.
تمام.
يلا بسم الله.
يلا. Do you see my screen guys? طيب كيف تفضلوا، عربي انجليزي اي حاجه، ايش التفضيلات حقتكم؟
هو الافضل انها تكون على يعني خلينا نقول عربي as possible، ولكن لا معنى الانجليزي طبعا يعني.
طيب جميل. طيب يعطيكم العافيه. ايش رايك؟ تفضل.
لا أنا بفضل تكون بالإنجليزي، إنه الكيس حتكون بالإنجليزي، فالأفضل إن نتعود عليها.
كلام كبير. طيب تمام، بسم الله. يعطيكم العافيه جميعا، شكرا على الانتظار. ما ادري لو عارف تأخرت عليكم حبتين، بس المعذره صراحه، كان عندي اجتماع مرة مهم ودوب خلصت. فيا أهلا وسهلا جميعا فيكم. الوليد ضبان، ماكنزي كونسلتنت حاليا، لي 2 سنين تقريبا مع الشركة. Before that, I was a Qimam Fellow, which was also a sponsored, let's say, initiative by McKinsey and Company in Saudi and also in the Middle East. قبل كده كنت طالب في جامعة أمين سلطان Manufacturing Engineering. It's a cool topic that mixes between, let's say, mechanical engineering and also management. So it was a cool journey من البداية إلى الآن. طبعا ممكن كذا شوية بداية، أنا ما خلقت وصرت consultant على طول. I've gone through a lot. فمينلي خلال الجامعة I've tried my best إنه أجرب كل الأشياء المتاحة لي من ناحية التخصص، بحيث أفهم بالضبط إيش التخصص إيش صار فيه. بعد ذلك I got into consulting. شخصيا whenever someone asks me يعني هذا هو الapproach حقي بيكون generally taste your profession, understand it, شوف إيش بيصير فيه، بعدين see if you like it or not, and if you like it how can you capitalize on this حتى لو حبيت if you go to consulting. Mainly when it comes to my experience, I've started as a manufacturing engineer for GE Power. I've done like an internship there. خلال حتى الجامعة I've done a lot of internships في التخصص حقي. Materials planning, production planning, manufacturing engineering, and when it comes also to ERP and solutions. كل هذه الأشياء I've tried it so that I can decide at least if my profession is the right one for me or not. وحتى if not, where can I excel? This was like, let's say, my journey professionally. بعدين قبل 2 سنين تقريبا I just discovered إنه والله why not take this further و explore other areas. which was actually Matt McKinsey. And during Matt McKinsey and Company, I was like, until now, I was like mostly focused on industrial mining energy sector, which is actually a sector that's very close to my heart, given my experience in it. So this is what I do generally when it comes to industry. When it comes to topics, I help clients for strategy, I help them for operations, I help them also for implementation of their strategies. But mainly it's really very diverse generally when it comes to what we do as consultants. It's not really only strategy building and theorizing. We also نشمر عن ايادينا طال عمرك وننطلق مع other engineers or with other doers of the organization so that we can make sure that they realize their strategies. So this is just hopefully a brief حاول قدر الامكان نكون شويه transparent لانه في كثير من الناس يكون شوي بايس من ناحيه الكونسلتنتس يقول لي لا خلاص روح انطلق كون كونسلتنت وانت لسه ما اكتشفت الحياه. And this is like super critical انه بعض الناس يروحوا الكونسلتنج وهم ما عارف بالضبط هم عارفين بالضبط ايش حابين وايش ناويين يسووا في الحياه. And consulting is very hectic. We need to know that. وإذا ما عندك شيء that keeps you let's say consistent and strong في هذا الاندستري حرام يعني people get into it وهم ما عارفين بالضبط ايش يبغوا. It's going to be tough on both sides, emotionally, intellectually, and also professionally if it doesn't work. So cool. So hopefully this is like a brief, hopefully not very long introduction عني وعن consulting وعن الحياة بشكل عام. And then we get into our case. طبعا بالأخير أنا حاب ممكن بالأخير ممكن نسوي كذا سيشن بسيطة questions Q&A إذا في أحد عنده أي سؤال. Also through سعيد and عندك عبد الله and also Walid, for sure if you have any questions they can يعطوني هي ونظبطكم إن شاء الله. let's start بسم الله في هذه الستدي. الآن اللي عندنا هذه الكيس it's very exciting صراحة for me and it's one of the cool ones عشان كذا اخترتها لأنها نوعا ما تعكس الواقع الحالي ونفس الوقت it's a real one من ناحية إنه الاندستري حقتها ومن ناحية كذلك what we do. mainly let's see ونقرأ المادة. طيب cool. our client is called Delicious Fresh. They're a US-based, they're a US-based company. هم مركزين أكثر على boxed meal delivery, which were like very right now is actually booming. ما أدري لو سمعتوا عن كيلو لو سمعت كذلك عن other delivery services اللي توفر الأكل وأنت في مكانك. This is very relevant to us, and let's see what this case has to us. In this industry, as we know, customers visit the Delicious Fresh website and select meals they would like to order. Delicious Fresh packs and uncooked, but seeing a difference, they pack uncooked ingredients for the meals into transportable boxes. The boxes are delivered by Delicious Fresh employees to the customers' homes. The customers take out the ingredients and follow instructions provided by Delicious Fresh to cook the meal. This may include cutting up the food, baking ingredients to create a finished meal. Customers pay Delicious Fresh for every meal they order. Today, Delicious Fresh operates in 2 large cities in the United States, New York City and Philadelphia. Delicious Fresh is planning on expanding to another large city, which is Washington, D.C. Delicious Fresh has hired your team to help the company enter the Washington, D.C. market. Their goal is to gain market share and explain a presence in the Washington, D.C. market. So احنا عندنا هذا هو overall let's say introduction. ممكن تكون طويلة بس كمان this is what happens sometimes in real interviews. هتلاقي الانترفيور يعطيك a very long introduction full of data, full of information, full of context. And your role is going to be like to take notes for sure, but also when you take notes you need to understand exactly what you should take notes of, and لأنه مستحيل to take note of everything. This is just for sure. So this is going to be a very similar to a real interview. You will have a tons load of information thrown at you. You need to decide which information are the most important. And at the end, you need to focus على what's needed. What's the objective of this specific case? What does the client need? So this is mainly what's going to be لأنه بالأخير you cannot really solve for everything. And you need to solve for something very specific. And this something very specific should be in line with what the client wants. Hopefully this is clear. So here, if we read again, and we'll see that Delicious Fresh, they're focused أكثر على two main questions. They want to know, they want us to help them get into the market of Washington, D.C. This is number one. This is the most important thing that they want us to do. بعدين, in that, what they really care about, based on the intro, they care about, let's say, two things: gain market share and establish presence. This is the things that we need to focus on across هذه الcase. Cool. So let's start with the first question. عندنا هذه الانترو. في first question دائما في McKinsey style interviews, they have the first question is always a structuring question. What does this mean? This structuring question, it's a framework. I don't know if you've read about frameworks ولا لا, but a framework is a way of solving a question or a way of solving an issue, let's say. So always when it comes to consulting, usually 95% of the times, the first question is going to be a framework question where you will try your best to put a framework. What does a framework mean? A framework is a step-by-step approach, usually with some elements that we try to be MECE. What does MECE mean? MECE means mutually exclusive. بعدين mutually exclusive. فلازم كل نقطة لحالها. Yeah.
We are seeing the first slide only. Do you
only which first slide?
Yeah, the consulting club one. We're not seeing the no.
Interesting.
Thank you.
No, it's
See
working.
my screen now?
It's working now, yeah.
Yes,
it's working. Oh, كل هذا الوقت أنا قاعد أتكلم حالي. Sorry يا جماعة.
We saw this one, but the other one did not see it. The green one.
Yeah, we've read this one with you.
Got it. Amazing. Cool. But you know, I changed the page. Do you see my page changing?
No, it's still the same.
Yes,
Cool. طيب. As I was saying, mainly question one is a structuring question. بعد ذلك بيجيك عندك a quantitative question, numbers, math. بعد ذلك بيجيك a creativity question. تمام. بعدين بيجي structuring. فهذا الفلو في بعض الشركات بيكون مرة straightforward, especially McKinsey & Company. It's going to be very specific. هيقول لك أنت دائما أول سؤال حيكون structuring, ثاني سؤال حيكون أرقام وماث. بعد ذلك ثالث سؤال حيكون creativity, and they want to see how creative you are. بعدين بالأخير بيرجعوا مرة ثانية structuring, وبالأخير بيسألك إيش رأيك وإيش conclusion لازم تصير. فin this specific problem, let's say, هنبدأ الآن بأول question, which was structuring question, اللي هو الفريمورك. فإحنا هنا السؤال بيقول what are the factors that you would look at when approaching this problem. تمام. فأنت الآن خلينا نتذكر الفلو حق الانترفيو. حتسلم على الرجال، حتبدأ personal fit interview. بعد ذلك you will move into the case interview. في الكيس interview حيعطيك الانترو. بعد ذلك في الانترو حيعطيك يسألك أول سؤال اللي هو عبارة عن structuring problem اللي هو بالأخير إيش بيصير؟ What are the factors that you would look at when approaching this problem? طبعا هذا specific question is usually, like, let's say 70% of the time, at least في McKinsey, هيكون أول سؤال تنسأل اللي هو what factors you would look at when approaching this problem. What does this mean specifically? والآن when you have a problem, you need to at least to confine it. صح؟ تحصرها كده، تمسك المشكلة. فهير the first question is mainly تقول له أنا من وين حمسكها؟ من وين حمسك المشكلة هذه؟ فusually it should be comprehensive. تمام، انت المفروض ما تترك اي جزئيه مو مغطيه، لانه otherwise ممكن احنا ان هايندسايت نغلط، وممكن ان هايندسايت كذلك يصير يجينا شيء من حيث لا نحتسب. وفي let's say ideally المفروض ما يصير اي شيء اللي احنا دارسينه. So this is going to be the first question. So let's work with you. I don't know if you've took notes ولا لا من ناحية الانترو. خلينا نحل مع بعض أول سؤال اللي هو عبارة عن what factors we would look at when approaching this problem. What do you think يا جماعة? What factors we should look at when approaching this problem? Let's get like some participants for like 30 seconds, but then we'll dig into the question together. No answers, no hands raised.
I can answer. I raised my hand, but apparently it didn't show for you.
Tell me.
Okay, so at the start I have came up with 4 frameworks for this solution, for this case. At the start, we would need to see the market attractiveness in this new area, and we need to see if this place really has a need for it or not. And we need to see the current competitors in there. Maybe there is other people who are competing hard in that case, and maybe it's not wise to compete against them. So we need to study the competitors. And we also need to see the customer needs. Maybe the food they desire is different from that the company provides, so they might need to change that to that customer. And the fourth one is the company capability. Maybe the company capability is different, and they can't provide and can't supply this project.
Jamil, thank you so much. So I have a very good answer. Any other answers we have? مش لازم يكون في answer واحدة, and this is live. So it would be great if we can hear someone else.
Maybe I raised my hand. Actually, we can analyze this factors into 3 main.
انقطع الصوت.
Actually, sorry for this disrupting. Maybe we can analyze the factors here for this problem into 3 main factors, and we can specify as the 3 C's that firstly we analyze the customers, what types of customers, what types of meals that you want to order from this application, maybe Mexican, maybe steaks or whatever. So secondly, the status of the company itself, which type of meals they are specifying, the financial capabilities of this company, and also the competitors inside the Washington or the city that want to enter the market.
Great, thank you so much. Perfect. And actually, mainly جماعة ما شاء الله عليكم, you've touched, let's say, غالبية النقاط الأساسية. So الآن خلينا نروح نشوف الإجابة. And if we touched it كلها ولا لا. فاحنا عندنا الآن هنا زي ما قلت بالضبط, يعني literally احنا we've covered everything, بس لو نلاحظ المرات في بعض المرات ما كنا مرة to the point. فاحنا قلنا let's say we consider the market. ايش يعني market بالضبط? Who exactly in the market? Competition was mentioned, company capabilities was mentioned, that was great, and also the product was mentioned. But sometimes we forgot about the customers. And at the end, this company should serve customers. We should look exactly who are we serving in Washington DC, and بنفس الوقت who we use to serve في other cities. So maybe we can go over it again. When you start answering this specific question, you need to be very specific and to the point. So you can start always with, I'll be considering 4 main areas. Lazim you give numbers to every single thing that you say, at least in this specific question. I'll be looking into 4 areas. 1, product. 2, customers. 3, company and competition. In product, I'll be looking at the cost. I'll be looking at maybe the shipping procedure. I'll be looking at our product specifically, the ingredients, where we get them from, suppliers, how we can get these suppliers from. بعدين I'll move into customers. I'll look into customers. Who are our customers? What do we learn about our customers? How customers in Washington DC are different than customers in New York or حتى Philadelphia. And then we go into our companies. And someone mentioned the company's capabilities, which is a great example of sometimes you have aspirations, you want to serve customers, you have a great product, but in reality, you can't really do that. No, you don't really have the capabilities inside your company to do it. But this is what happens. بعدين after that, خلاص, internally we're good. We've تكلمنا عن customers, تكلمنا عن product, تكلمنا عن companies. We need to look outside the competition. Who else is in the market? What do they do? ايش الماركت شير حقهم? What's exactly super special about them? Where we can compete and exactly what's their value proposition. So mainly this is what they do, and this is what we do generally when we tackle this question. If you notice, تقريبا we covered everything. هل في أي شيء أنت you feel like we haven't covered? ولا تحس إنه we've covered everything؟ إذا أحد عنده نقطة ولا أقول لك لا يمكن في نقطة أخرى ما cover ما سوينا لها coverage.
Excuse me. Maybe the regulations of the country or the state may affect.
Great point. This is a great point, and it could be mentioned. بس نفس الوقت, as we know, بشكل عام, at least right now, regulations for delivery services is not really that tough. ولكن we need to be also smart that sometimes for some industries, regulations is like number one thing that we need to look into. عرفت كيف؟ Do you know which industries are there؟ لما نتكلم عن high regulations أو بشكل عام لما تجيك case عن هذه الindustry, number one thing that you should consider is actually the regulations.
Drugs.
That's true. Drugs. كذلك لما نتكلم عن manufacturing of food, manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, manufacturing of أي شيء فيه أكل وشرب وعلاقة بالناس صحتهم. This is number one. Again, ممتاز. Any other industry you feel?
شاشة بلوك.
Sorry.
مو جالسين نشوف.
عفوا ما سمعتك.
مو جالسين نشوف, في مشكلة بالشاشة. يمكن تطلع في السلايد.
No.
Okay.
Now it's good.
Good. So yeah, one more industry and we're good to go to the next question.
Maybe the healthcare.
Healthcare, very similar to food, yes. One of the industries that are like heavily regulated, banks, banking, financial services, especially in this region of the world, and then السعودية specifically كذلك, it's highly regulated. So whenever you have a banking case, تقول number one على طول بدون ما تغمض regulations. لأن تخيل يكون عندك good product, good company, في إن شاء الله competition, you never know, في customers, في potential, بس in reality ترى ما عندك the market is not regulated. أو في regulations تعيقك بناء على الدولة وبناء على state وبناء على city. So cool. ننتقل الآن إلى question number 2. زي ما قلنا usually إن نبدأ structuring question بعدين نروح على quantitative question. تمام؟ فهنا we go into the question number 2. And mainly ترى في sometimes في storyline. يعني أنت عندك الآن هنا إحنا تكلمنا عن companies, تكلمنا عن competition, تكلمنا عن customers, تكلمنا عن product. فأنت first question هيجيك دائما okay خلاص good job. Let's see how the market is how the market is big. How big is the market, and if we can, what segments are we targeting, who are our customers, etc. فهنا هيجيك أول question اللي هو how large is the expected revenue in the greater Washington DC. What does this mean? Sometimes this comes into بطريقة مختلفة. ممكن أقول لك what's the market size of Washington DC. تمام? Yes. What's the market size in Washington DC? So what do you think, guys? How can we calculate this revenue?
I think here we will need to look at data from New York and Philly and be able to compare the two, and after we get an estimate once we know the population of the greater Washington.
We can use the estimation approach.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, estimation of what?
Estimation of the market size. We can, for example, get the number of population in Washington DC, and then estimate based on our data for Philadelphia and the New York City, that, for example, we have percentages of people using our product. And we can
Hello.
apply roughly the same percentage for New York, for Washington DC.
فهنا الاسامبشن انه حيكون the behavior of people in Washington DC is going to be the same as the people in New York or Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Cool, but we need to generally highlight this assumption. But also there's a way specifically to calculate it exactly. So we're saying, yes, this is a great assumption and the percentage of people are going to be the same. But what exactly do we need when it comes to these numbers? So I would say we need to know before the solution, we need to know exactly the population, صح? To apply these percentages. The percentages هذه needs to be applied على a population, وهذه البرسنتجات تختلف حسب الage صح؟ حسب الage group that we're targeting. كذلك حسب sorry, what is this? I got it.
Maybe one point I can mention it about also the area that of the Washington DC that we need to cover the whole city. That we also another factor.
That's true. Do we need to cover the whole city ولا جزء منها?
Yeah, that means maybe we need to cover the whole city at all here. In this case, that's our assumption.
صح. طيب فمين احنا what we need to do? Sorry, go for it.
No, please.
So yeah, so as you said, estimates كذلك انت عندك هذه اشياء مره مهمه انه نحط الاسامبشنز حقتنا. we'll assume, let's say we'll assume the same behavior for Washington DC للناس اللي في نيويورك وفيلادلفيا. So this is number one. Secondly, we need to get numbers. هقول لك الان okay خلاص I ask you this question, how large is the expected revenue? What data do you need from me to give you this? تمام؟ انت قلت I will assume XYZ and حضربها في رقم. What are these أرقام that you want from me? What type of data you want to help you in this? No,
Sorry, the screen is freezing.
So when we would ask about the population data, could we ask about the different socio-economical background for the cities?
Yes, exactly. This is what you ask for when you're لما يقول لك الآن what data do you want from me? انت تقول له I want the population, I want also the let's say the
salary range.
Not necessarily. You need also to have very specific reason why you need this data. هل salary range will give you نقول whenever you ask for a specific type of data, you need to give a justification why you need it. And also you need to show how exactly you're going to use this specific data. لأنه in real life you will be dealing with sometimes معلومات خاصة عن الناس. You will deal with like أرقام الناس ولا حتى معلومات خاصة عنهم أعمارهم, salary ranges حقتهم. You will deal with confidential data. ما حد له access عليها إلا أنت. So you need to have very specific reasons and justifications why you need this specific data. But when you say I want the salary ranges, you need to follow it up with the justification. I need the salary ranges because I'm assuming that our product is not really preferred by every single range, but also it's mostly, let's say, preferred by middle class, something like that. So you need to give justifications every now and then.
That's why once now you show that data that it costs $15 per meal, now that helps like to deduct which social class will be be more inclined to buy. Okay.
Exactly. So here, in order to answer this question, we need 4 pieces of data. I will show the population as we talked about. بعدين the targeted age group. Who are we exactly targeting? Yeah. Who are we exactly targeting when it comes to the population? بعد ذلك فانت عندك الان انت تقول له هل are you targeting everyone؟ لا حيقول لك لا I'm not targeting everyone. I'm targeting 2 main age groups. 24 and 30, and also there's another age group from 31 to 40. So احنا mainly we're targeting ما بين 24 and 40 اللي هو mostly they're هذول الشباب we're targeting these youth people. بعدين we're saying based على الدراسات والbehavior اللي تكلمنا عنه في البداية 10% of group A بيشتروا البوكس ميلز و5% of group B بيشتروا البوكس ميلز حقتنا. So as if تتذكروا النقاط حقت انه ال customer behavior will assume انه the same, here's the point. And how we're saying 10% of the specific age group will buy our product, or 5% of the other group will buy our product. What other groups are not really considered generally. احنا نتكلم طيب الأقل من 24 no, it's not our focus for now. طيب الأكبر من 40 no, they're not our focus for now. بعد ذلك احنا we talk about ال 1 meal per month. احنا نقول on average people buy 1 meal per month and this cost us $15 per meal, $15 per meal. طيب what do you think? You can calculate the revenue ولا لا? Is this sufficient?
Yes.
Or no? طيب let's calculate it together. What do you think?
Do I need the likelihood of people that we're going to buy from us?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Likelihood of people?
What's the percentage of buyers from the 35%?
Let's say the probability that someone from Group A will buy from will buy a product. As you say, that Group A is from 24 to 30, and they are 15% of the population. It's realistically impossible that all of them will buy from us. So that's why I'm asking for the likelihood of someone from that age to buy from us.
طيب I'll be a bit harsh because I'll try to be an كذا interviewer حركات. Mainly I've mentioned the specific data, but you didn't take note of it, but I'll mention it again. So 10% of Group A are likely to purchase our boxed meal, and 5% of Group B are likely to purchase our meals. So this answers the question. عرفت كيف? Hopefully this is clear. It's fine if you missed a data point خلال الانترفيو, but ask for it and know and focus if it was mentioned or not. If it was mentioned, قول له معليش, can you please repeat that? I missed this specific area, versus asking it if it was as if it was not asked. This is going to be a red flag for the interviewer.
So our goal is 18 and 12,000, right?
True.
Okay.
Cool. Hopefully this is clear. Is this clear, guys?
So now we know the revenue we're aiming for.
Like, always when you give an answer, try to have some foresight on the future. عرفت كيف? So what does it mean to have this specific number? عرفت كيف? So we have X number of money or X number of market size. What's the next step? You need to highlight for the interviewer what's the next step. What so what usually they say. So when you have this X million of dollars or X K of dollars, what does it mean? We need to compare to other market sizes. We also need to make sure if this market size suits us, if we're interested into this market size. فإحنا we always when we have a number, we need to find the so what. So we'll tell the interviewer, look, Mr. Interviewer, the market size is going to be X million of dollars. تمام, a year. Is our client interested in this market size? Well, that they're looking for a smaller market size. Well, maybe they're looking for a larger market size. عرفت كيف? So always connected with the future. What does it mean to have this number?
So can I ask you a question, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go for it.
So بالمثال ده الآن يعني I would explain to the interviewer all the numbers are reach the number right now, like to calculate the revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at the end, for example, right now it's 450,000 per month, right? So the revenue would be 5,400,000, and that's just the income from the meals, without considering all the costs.
True. So
we would need to compare with Philly and New York as well, like to see if it's equivalent in regard to the population, to see if it's realistic first, and secondly, if it's interesting for as an investment.
You mentioned two great points. If it's interesting and for the client, that's a great point. The second point you mentioned, it doesn't really make sense when it comes to comparing this market to New York and Philadelphia. Would it be relevant if we compare this market to New York and Philadelphia?
No, because Philly and New York are way bigger, 10 times, let's say.
Exactly, they're totally different.
But
So
that's
what
how
make-
we can
what
see
would
with the
make
numbers.
sense- You mentioned an amazing point, costs. We would love to see how costs are different. ليش costs, when costs are different, this means the profitability will be different. And this will touch on if the client is willing to lose in this market just to get into it. Now, if you remember, the objective of the client was just to get into this market, تمام, and also to have a presence. Some clients and some customers, they're willing to lose. يقول لك أنا ما عندي مشكلة. I'm willing to lose. I'll just have the presence. And this is an amazing point you mentioned on this. اللي هو
So
connecting
what-
it to the future.
Yeah.
Costs,
So-
profitability. Is this interesting to the client or not? Yep. Tell me. You had a question. All clear?
That's all good.
Amazing. Cool. طيب يا اخوان. So this is the second question. This is the calculation. You've done it right. And then and then we go to this question number 3. Usually sorry, this is another quantitative. I just would like us to get to the creativity question. Okay, as we said before, the first question is going to be structuring problem. The second one is going to be quantitative. The third one for sure is going to be creativity. What does this mean exactly? So this means
Before continuing,
yeah. Tell me.
you asked about the revenue, okay? And before that, the main question was to join the market or not. By the revenue alone, we cannot determine.
Exactly, yeah, true.
So I could ask for the cost, the variable cost, the fixed cost that are related to distribution cost, and every cost that are related to opening in a new market. So I can determine or suggest or be creative or move to the next step of determining the cost.
Yes, that's great. But we don't ask specifically for the costs. You allude to it. عرفت كيف? So and the question was very clear. What is the revenue that we'll get from Washington DC, صح? You got the number to show that you know what you're doing, and also you know to some extent the future and where you need to look at and the next step. But this number specifically, you tell them, look, but this number we can't really say anything until now, until we know about the costs, because this is going to be determining the profitability, which will determine hopefully how attractive this market is for our client. So you see how you link the dots together? You don't ask specifically for the costs. You say, look, this number specifically doesn't tell us anything إلا لما we connect it to the costs, because this will tell us about the profitability, because this will tell us about how attractive this market is for our client. عرفت كيف? So you don't ask specifically about specific data points إلا if you need them now, and if they help you in the current question. The current question in this specific example was about revenues. So when عرفت كيف? So did you get me exactly? So when you have a question about revenues, you don't tell him, look, what is our operational costs? Look, what is our let's say capex, capital expenditure that we'll have next year? This is very irrelevant, but you can allude to it. You can tell him, look, this is the number, but this tells us nothing إلا until we look into the future, when we look at the costs, profitability, how would this lead. Do you get me? It's all about the framing and how you approach the problem and how you tell the interviewer your points, because this is like super critical. Communication is critical in consulting, and what you're trying to say should always be connected to to the problem, number one, and secondly to the client.
شكرا على الإجابة.
Hopefully I answered. معليش أحس شوية مرة تحمست بس
لا لا لا
لا
بالعكس
it's really helpful.
جدا يعطيك العافية.
لا مفيد مرة.
Cool. طيب, let's get into the third question. The third question is usually one of the toughest. عرفت كيف؟ So when it comes to structuring problems, people sometimes they memorize frameworks and they can get away with it. Although people know that, consultants know that this is a memorized framework and this is not an original one, but it's fine, it's possible. For quantitative, we have great people who are like amazing in business and also amazing in math. They can get away with a quantitative. A creativity question is the one that's a bit tough. ليش tough? Because they'll try to push you as hard as possible. They'll try so hard to make you run out of ideas. But at the same time, they'll always tell you, what else? They'll try to squeeze your creativity and see if you can work with, let's say, demanding clients. So for this specific example, we have this question. What are the examples of 3 different messages that Delicious Fresh could convey in its advertisements? And what are the examples of 3 different outlets they could use for advertising? Some of you might think, okay, احنا كنا قبل شوية في revenue. Just a second ago, we were at revenues. What the heck is going on? Why we're considering advertisement right now? And this is real life. Out of the blue, a client might come to you guys and tell you, okay, خلاص, stop everything. I don't want to know about the revenue. I want to know about more the advertisement that I need to go for. And as a trusted advisor, you'll tell him, okay, no worries, we'll pause our work here, and let's work on the pressing problem, which is your advertising. Fine, this is going to be hopefully within scope or not. This is your manager's problem. But when it comes to the client, this is the stressing problem. حاليا موجودة اللي هي advertisement. So on this specific one, what are the examples of 3 different messages that Delicious Fresh could convey? And also, what are the outlets? What are the channels that they can use? What do you think if we solve it together? Any ideas, creative people, or not?
In my case, I like to focus on a motto for the company. It's fast but healthy food. Because the whole process of getting it shipped to your house is really like extremely fast, because you don't have to even move out of your house, you don't have to do anything but cook it yourself, but still it's still healthy food. So it's like getting frozen food, but it's actually fresh.
Amazing. So here you're focusing your messages on fast, fresh. What's the third one?
I said fast but healthy food. So instead of fast food, you focus really on the healthy side of it, because the whole concept of fast food is to get food without putting the work into it. But the issue is, it's not healthy, it kills you. So I think that Delicious Fresh.
I'll make myself the client. Look, you don't know my business. My business is not really about fast food. My business is delivering ingredients to clients or to customers so that they prepare them. It's not really prepared food. You don't know my business, Mr. Consultant, and you're fired.
No, I know you. I know the food is a. Yeah, I know. Yeah. This is an idea. I would totally defend my case. I would be laughing with the clients. You know, the thing is, I do know that the business is to send food that's not cooked. But actually, like people, they don't have to go to the grocery store, so you're saving a lot of time.
Amazing. So you can
most likely it comes with a recipe, right? So, like you said earlier, it's all about communication. So
love it. Exactly.
Obviously, you have to explain the whole idea.
And this kind of happens when you have like a very demanding client who's like super easy to irritate, super easy to get angry at you, and maybe fire you. that happens.
Time is money for sure.
Exactly.
You work 2 weeks, yeah.
Perfect. Any other messages that we can consider, guys? Freshness and fastness is a good one. Let's get more stuff. Let's get into the youth. Let's focus on our customers. Who are we serving?
Okay, so first, you are be talking about that the clients will know what they are cooking, know what they are eating.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is that it will save them money. We're talking about $15 which is approximately equal to the market meal or even less. And third one, get the new generation to cook by themselves and get away from the fast food, which will create more healthy generation.
Love it.
Yeah,
What
these
else?
are 3 points.
Hi. I would honestly here throw like a wild card in the creative section where I would really press on getting more experience for our youthful clients by experiencing different cuisines every week, every month, experiencing different diets. Maybe for 1 week, we can push for a keto diet or something more vegan so they can experience more. So just like pushing this, advertisement can also be very attractive for the youth.
Great. And this is actually a core thing. In sales, generally, you're not selling a product, you're selling an experience. So, and generally this generation right now, also in this year and going forward, people are trying more and more to focus on experiences. This is a side thing. Sorry, this is a side, but this is super important generally in creativity questions and also in business. We stopped selling products, we sell experiences, we sell feelings, we sell emotions, we sell status. And this is generally what happens in marketing. So they're trying their best to sell you experiences. And this is a great point, Saeed. Thank you so much for mentioning this. And this can help us here specifically. We can sell you experiences. We can sell you different cuisines. We can make you try different things. And maybe you can also focus on the element of family bonding. With COVID, this got more pronounced. People want to get more closer to their families. So let's look at it from a different perspective. Yes, it's unprepared food, and then you will prepare this food. But maybe we can focus on, look, you'll prepare this food with your family. This will create a closer bond between you and your kids, for example, between you and your grandparents. So look, this is where we want to go. We want to go from the product itself to what's around it, how people feel about it, how can we enhance all of that. And this is like super important in creativity questions specifically, and also in business generally. Good. So let's see what we have here, the ideal solution. Okay, what is this? I think we lost the answer. But generally, as you said, Jamara, as everyone said here, we need to focus on just a sec, the messages. Sorry, I got an email. Sorry, some like. We need to focus on the value proposition, as you said, the quality. Some people mentioned the quality. It's fresh, it's fast. The price, the convenience, the enjoyment, and also we can go overboard. Family, we can also go overboard and say, look, friends. We can, instead of going to the mall, for example, you can cook with your friends and family. So experiences. So these are like, let's say, the messages that we can sell: quality, price, convenience, enjoyment, experiences, a status, that people eat healthy food versus people eating fast food. Like, let's go to the channels question. Hey, they asked about the outlets and the channels. What do you think are the best channels for this specific product? And these specific messages.
First of all, we need to know our target market, like who want it. So it's mostly going to be, as mentioned the previous question, going to be people from age from 25 to 30 and from 30 to above until 40. So this target market has specific social media that they use, such as like older people don't use TikTok, while the other generation maybe they are more into Twitter and these social media. So we need to study the Mexican and what social media they use, and we focus on this social media.
Good. So does that answer my question? I asked about the channels. Amazing answer. But you didn't give me any options. Where should I go now?
Twitter.
Not
Sorry.
Maybe we can maybe focus on what the best way to deliver this unprepared food. Maybe it can be just deliver it by application, or maybe on distribute it in the market, my supermarket, and can anyone that buy it and take it at home.
طيب guys, لا ايش تكلمنا احنا قبل سابقا. We need to be specific to the point. We need to answer the question and focus on the problem. طيب, so when someone asks you about the channels, you need to give them channels. So one, you can tell them, look, we can use the television because we're targeting people between, let's say, 24 to 40, and these people watch news. But we need to just make sure that these people are still watching the news based on statistics. We can go with social media. Secondly, we can go with social media, since we're targeting people between 24, let's say between 24 to 30, and these people are mostly on social media and they truly care about e-commerce and online shopping. We can go with banners at let's say hospitals, or maybe in gyms. We can go with these like physical areas where people of our targeted let's say age group go. Guys, do you understand? We need to get an answer for the client, and then we put our spices around it. Yes, depends, but we need to give an answer. So television, F123 happens, and we need to make sure that XYZ happens. Social media, because we're considering youth, youth people, and then we need to make sure that targeting happens. Fourth is, let's say, banners and physical areas when it comes to places, physical places and where our customers go. You got me? So we need to have an answer. It's all about communications. I know people, you have the answer somewhere in your mind, but we need to communicate that to the interviewer and also to anyone who asks questions. This is the answer, but please make sure 1, 2, 3. Please consider XYZ in the future. We just need to do more analysis on this specific area, but at the end of the day, you answer the question. Clear?
Most of the stuff which I'm worried about is if I made an assumption, they would ask me, what did you base your assumption on? Because like when I mentioned my answer, I didn't tell you specific region because I don't have any statistic in my mind. So if I mentioned we should do television based on statistic, I'm worried if an interviewer going to ask me what statistic. That's going to put me in a very bad spot.
مش شرط. You'll tell them, look, we need to do some analysis on who attends these TV shows, for example. هيقول لك, okay, great, Filimban, great answer. What type of data would you like to look at? هتقول له والله we would look at نشوف التي في shows في الage group الفلانية هذا we can get these data, but you need to have an idea of where you're going to be looking at. So mainly when it comes to what data specifically you want, you need to have a view at least. عرفت كيف؟ Plus, good point, you can't really mention statistics out of the blue. عرفت كيف؟ والله based on statistics 5% من الناس eat healthy food. Now I'll ask you a question. When I give you a number, I'll ask you a question. This 5% من وين? Based on what? But when you tell them, look, we need to do some statistical analysis on this area. It's very general. We haven't tackled the massive statement. You didn't make a statement of 5%, X%. Let's say 100% of KFPMers will become ministers. This is wrong. We need to have some data around it. But when you say, look, we can do some statistical analysis on how many percent of these people get into public sector, and out of these public sector, we'll see how many percent of that will get into the C level or -1, etc. So you got my point, guys? You need to highlight where we need to do analysis, but don't you ever give an answer with numbers that are based on nothing. Ralph was about to talk, right?
No, simply I was gonna ask.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Can you ask, for example, the interviewers, do you have data on that? Was a survey done on that matter? Like because an assumption, obviously, it's an assumption. There's nothing to back it up. It's just ideas, especially when you're in the creativity part.
Great question, Raphael. But generally, these assumptions should be based on something, right? Based on, and then you link it. For example, based on Waleed's experience, let's say 5% of people around me are bald, let's say. Here, you link it to your experience. You say, based on my experience, 5% of our people around me are bald. Let's say I have good exposure to the population, so I'll just assume that 5% of the population is bald. But you have something to base it on, your experience in this specific element. But sometimes your experience doesn't make sense because you don't really have this exposure. And for example, I can't really say, based on my experience, 5% of fashionistas wear Dior. Then the interviewer will tell me, Waleed, do you have this exposure? If I have it, okay, I'll tell them, but most probably I don't have exposure to fashionistas. So your assumption can be based on your experience, and this is great, and this shows that you understand the problem and that you extrapolated it in a way or another to your personal experience, but also based on your readings in business, based on your readings from the economy, based on the news, etc. You can build an assumption that's to some extent valid. Cool, guys. Great questions and great contribution. Let's see. Just considering launch approach. This is another creativity question. So they're saying here, in addition to advertising, Delicious Fresh is considering launching a promotion to attract new customers. For its promotion, the client came up with 3 proposals and asked your team for advice on which proposal would be most effective. Coupon for a free meal from Delicious Fresh, mailed to potential customers in the Washington, D.C. area. A coupon of 15% of the first 3 meals from Delicious Fresh, mailed to potential customers. And then Delicious Fresh employees would set up locations throughout Washington, D.C. in public areas where chefs would prepare meals from Delicious Fresh and provide the food free for people walking by. Come on. So the question here, can you list an advantage and disadvantage for each proposal, and which of these proposals would be most promising for the client pursue? Is the question clear?
Yep.
So usually when we have options, we need to have the advantages and disadvantages so that we can make sure that we can decide and we can have the right decisions. So when it comes to these options, we have number 1, coupon for free meal one time. Secondly, 50% for the first 3 meals. And thirdly, we have a physical location where they'll have an event or something, and they'll just, let's say, distribute food. So guys, any specific answers? Would love to hear from you.
Yeah, go please.
Okay, so no, you answered a lot. Go ahead. Sorry.
Like Nasser. I think in this case we're trying to compare the client acquisition cost. Obviously, each of them have advantages and disadvantages. For example, the first one, the free meal, is we're being exposed to a big part of the population, although it's quite expensive, meaning like it's the full cost of a meal for each person trying it. The second one is great because it generates incomes, because we're selling 3 meals, and the 50% off, it's probably going to cover our costs. So there's no loss of money, and actually we're getting people into it. So it's mailed to customers, but are they going to go with it? There's nothing guaranteed. They still have to invest even more than 1 meal. So a meal and a half, it's still appealing because they're getting 3 meals out of it. The last one, what's great is we're getting full exposure. It's actually quite inexpensive because, and we're creating rapport with the customers. What's great about that, we don't have to provide full meals, but they can just get samples from it. And the advantage I see with that is something that can be posted on social media, or even get the TV to drop by during the event. And that can be ongoing and quite inexpensive and efficient, as well as something that can be processed quite quickly. Although it's going to be it's set up location, so it's a different location. That's great.
Good. Any other answers?
So for the first one, in my opinion, the advantage is we're gonna make the customer try the product by itself without any risk. So they're gonna attract a lot of customers because of that. But the disadvantage is it might ruin the image of the food that the customer, after they get it for free, they might think the cost gonna be high. So it might ruin the image of the food itself. It also might have a fraud that some customer will only take it for free, like they create a new account or new visa and try to find a way to abuse this coupon. The second one is 50% 3 times. So the advantage is we're gonna cover a lot of the cost of the product itself. So we might be able to cover the what's called the not the equal point where the revenue and cost the same are equal. The disadvantage is we might also lose customer potential to that because the customer will only try it for 3 meals. After that, there will be enough of it. The last one is great for advantage because the customer gonna try the meal themselves and they're gonna taste the thing. But it's a disadvantage is we're gonna take the experience of cooking the meal itself, and the experience is one of our main features. So when the customer see the meal very well made, they might get fear of they will not be able to prepare by themselves and might create a barrier. That's my answers.
Thank you so much. Great answers, guys. Really appreciate the creativity that we're putting in here. And this specific question, it's a creativity question, and you're showing it. So you've had the answers, and thank you so much. It's actually around all of that. Let's take this, let's say the extra mile, and show you how a great consultant would solve this question, this specific question. So this is a creativity question, that's right. But what do you think if we add to it structure? This will make it, and will make you show, will make you, and make it a more of a, let's say, a real case problem, plus it will make a great answer. So let's add structure to it. Think about it this way. What factors would you consider to put advantages and disadvantages for each proposal? You mentioned great examples that we can structure them right away. One of the examples that, one of the stuff that you, or the factors that we can consider is cost. And that was mentioned a couple of times, cost. So we can have this factor. Secondly, reputation. Thirdly, let's say let's say the return on investment. Where this will cost us, but at the same time, we need to have a return on investment, which means they put probability that a client or a customer will get back to us. And a fourth factor is the reach. As you mentioned before, maybe the first one would be, we will get the most outreach, but it's going to be the highest cost. So the second one might be in the middle when it comes to costs, but in reality, and this works hard, this potentially helps our reputation because people are trying our food, but in reality, this might be not really the best option because we're also losing 50%. The third option, so you see where we're going for a structured approach to answer a creativity question. And this will help the client and help you understand how they should make any decisions in the future for this specific problem. So you're telling them, look, guys, there are 3 to 4 main factors we need to consider when we look at these options: cost, reputation, let's say turnover, or like potential return on investment, and fourthly, let's say reach. And then you take each option and you map your question's advantages, disadvantages across these elements. Clear? Would that make sense?
Yeah, I guess this is the weighted decision matrix, right?
Exactly. And here you're trying your best to help the client make decisions. لأنه at the same time there must be some criteria for advantages and disadvantages, and having a structure, or like at least having some criteria, helps a lot in bringing clarity to the client, and also for you when it comes to thinking. Got it. Cool, guys. So we have here empty solutions. Sorry, PowerPoint failure. And with this, we reached out to the final, let's say, stage. At the end, you will have and you might have a question, but also don't be shocked if you don't have this question in a case interview. At the end, you'll be told, look, Walid, or look, Rafael, or look, Filimban, look, guys, should we enter Washington, D.C.? Should we enter Washington, D.C. market? Some people might be freaked out. Look, we haven't discussed this. We just discussed the revenue, and then we jumped into the marketing campaigns, and then we just jumped into proposals and how can we get to clients. That's fine. Calm down. That's fine. It's part of the process. Because this is sometimes real life. You need to get an answer right now. And it's going to be perfect if you can let's say formulate a way, given the data that you have right now, what answer potentially you can have, and what further details or further analyses you need to conduct. So let's say, based on the document here, they'll tell you, look, the CEO wants you tomorrow, early morning. What do you think? Should we enter this market or not? You don't have time until tomorrow morning, but you have some understanding about the revenues. You have some understanding about the best, the population. You have understanding of about the best, let's say, approach to tackle these specific populations, given through the channels, the messages, etc. And at the end, we talked about the best promotional, let's say, promotional campaign. I've gone through all of that. We're not going to tell the CEO all of that, صح? We'll just tell them, look, guys, we believe that getting into Washington, D.C. would make sense, given that it's going to generate X revenue, but we need to compare this to and see our costs and if the profitability would allow us or not. And if we're getting into this, based on the structure of the population that we've seen, we should go with XYZ channels. Let's say social media, TVs, and also through sponsorships with gyms. And at the end, we should put the gem on top with promotional campaigns through, let's see, 50% coupons for the 3 meals, because we believe that this is going to be the right way. But we need to do some further analyses on XYZ. So it happens sometimes that out of a sudden you're asked for an answer. Reflect on the analysis that you've done. See what you can get the benefit from, and then link it to what's needed, what's further needed, and link it also to your business sense. And if this makes sense for you from a personal perspective or not. At this stage, when you don't really have enough data, it's fine to have your personal understanding and based on your gut feeling. But in reality, when you have everything, when you have every single data and you have the analysis that's needed, you need to base all your decisions on analyses based on experience and also based on what you feel, right? And with this, we finished the case. Just to recap, case studies, or let's say case interviews, have a standard structure for some firms. For others, they're a bit, let's say, more fluid. For McKinsey & Company, it's more structured. So it's mostly interviewer-led, where you'll get the first question going to be structuring question. The second question is going to be about quantitative problem solving. The third is going to be about creativity. And then we iterate. And at the end, you might be asked, if you leave right now, or if you meet the CEO right now, what would the answer be? You can give it to them. Sometimes you might not really be asked this, but this is the standard, let's say, format. And at the end, and this is it. It's not really rocket science. It's all about communication, as we said. It's all about structure. It's all about clarity and linking things to the problem, linking things to the client. Hopefully you've had fun. And now let's go to the Q&A maybe quickly.
Okay. Let me first thank you وليد. يعطيك الف عافيه، شكرا جزيلا. استفدنا كثير والله، وبرضه شكرا للحضور كلهم. قبل ندخل على الكيو&اي على اساس اللي ممكن نحن نقلل لكم الوقت ساعه، فبنكمل ان شاء الله كيو&اي. بس حبيت اشكركم جميعا اول، وتقريبا هنا انتهينا يعني من الورك شوب كامله، وبنشوف الاسئله ان شاء الله. بس ودي اللي عنده سؤال maybe raising hand ونصير نمشي واحد واحد. طبعا الاسئله عادي المفروض ما ادري اذا يسمحنا الوليد، المفروض تكون جنرال على الكونسولتنج، يعني من تجربه الوليد، وبرضه ممكن في نصائح ممكن يعطينا اياها.
هنا حياكم.
طيب عبد العزيز.
سلام، يعطيك العافيه اول شيء الوليد،
اهلا وسهلا.
جدا كانت مفيده لهذا. بس انا عندي فقط بطلب منك نصيحه. في اغلب وانا قاعد اسوي يعني براكتسنج، عندي مشكله في الانتقال، يعني بعد ما اخذ الستيتمنتس وقاعد اسوي يعني جيس ستراكشر وكل حاجه، لكن الموف او الحركه من اني ستراكشر لل خلينا نقول الماثيماتيكال اناليسيس، عندي مشكله فيها، ما اكون عارف بالضبط كيف اقدر اتحرك من هنا لهنا، وما عندي يكون خلينا نقول التصور الصحيح. هل عندك اي نصيحه؟
طيب كول. شكرا عبد العزيز السؤال. and this happens a lot صراحه. and this is طبيعي. it's fine. خصوصا بالستراكشر حق بعض الشركات وبعض الانترفيو كيس انترفيوز، فممكن ينتقل لك من سؤال لاخر ما لهم اي دخل ببعض. that's fine. and this happens a lot في كثير من الاماكن. what you do is that you just feel okay about it, but at the same time it's not control what you have control over, which means you have control over your answer for this specific question and what it means for the client and what it means for this specific problem. عرفت كيف؟ So take control over what you have control over already. اللي هو عبارة عن look زي ما تكلمنا عن revenues. We'll get into a number. Linking it to the next step, you might have an answer sometimes, and also for some case interviews you have the right to steer, let's say, the case. Specifically when it comes to BCG and other companies, it's mostly interviewee led. So let's take the interview, the revenue question. Tamam? So you reached into a number. If you reached into this number and you went silent, that doesn't, you wouldn't pass. And let's say, ليش? Because this doesn't make sense. You have a number. You need to tell the client the so what's behind it, and what's needed in order to make sure that this number makes sense. عرفت كيف؟ And this answers specifically your point, Abdulaziz. اللي هو you have a number, you highlight the so what, and you highlight the specific analysis that's needed to make sense of this answer. Let's say this is a BCG case. هقول لك okay, great answer, Abdulaziz. So this revenue wouldn't make sense without getting to know the cost structure that we have, and hence the future profitability of this specific market. A great point. Let's get into the cost structure. So, and he'll show you a cost structure, or let's say he will also give you some cost structures from his mind. He'll tell you, look, the operating costs will be X, the capex will be Y, and then we're expecting, let's say, a depreciation of X, Y, Z. So typical accounting, and this might happen. It's easy. It's fine. Calculate for us the profitability. حتعطيه profitability, and then would that make sense? You link it to the client and how attractive he wants this attractiveness level, let's say, for a market. What does it mean for him? So you see, you took control over the case for this specific company because it's the way that its interviews are done. But for another company, which is, let's say, McKinsey, you need to expect that you're not going to take control over it, but you take control over your answers. That's what's next. What's the next question? It's their job. They'll tell you the next question. Your job is just to answer the question and make sure that you've covered everything and what's next. معلش أخذت شوي وقت في الإجابة, but this specific question happens a lot for so many people, and they panic. عرفت كيف؟ بس don't panic. It's fine. Best master what you have control over, which is your answer, and making sure that it covers everything.
يعطيك العافية على الإجابة، ما قصرت.
طيب let's see who's next.
أوس.
اوكي، جزاك الله خير الوليد، ما قصرت والله، كانت جدا مفيدة المقابلة هذه. I went with the McKinsey interviews and I reached the final interview. Unfortunately, they decided to not proceed with my application. So I was wanting to ask her, is there a hope to try again, or is it really over for me with McKinsey? Should try other companies?
لا first of all don't take it personal. ما اتوقع ماكنزي ينكرهوا عائلة فيلمبان at all. They're fine. بس إن the same actually man we have a Saudi partner في US. It's called Nawaf Filimban. Check him out. He's
ما
good.
شاء الله.
Don't take it personally. بس إنه it's not over for sure. It's not over. بس القصة إنه there are like some specific elements that you need to work on generally, سواء في communication, سواء في problem solving, سواء في structuring, سواء في math. They will tell you hopefully after the interview هيقولوا لك والله you need to focus on X, Y, Z in the next time. But it's not over. There's always hope, let's say, and there's always another try. Maybe for some companies you need to wait a bit, maybe a year or two until you get you get qualified for the next let's say recruiting cycle. But it's not over. هي فكر فيها على إنها عبارة عن continuous improvement. There are some areas maybe you need to improve. عرفت كيف؟ بس.
جزاك الله خير.
راشد.
هلا والله وليد، يعطيك العافية على الكيس هذه، يعني استفدنا شيء واجد. طبعا الأسئلة عندي الحين غالب سؤالين. السؤال الأول الحين for most interviews، يعني هل لازم يكون الغالب يكون made assumption for the numbers or maybe you can ask the interview يعني إذا كان في number data، يعني مثلا كان I get it يعني، ولا في الغالب لازم يكون to make your assumptions في الأرقام لما تحسبها مثلا في الستركشر بالذات في الفريم.
والله راشد it really depends على your approach and how you frame it. عرفت كيف؟ You can go either one way or two way or make a hybrid. عرفت كيف؟ So mainly you can say it's either you can have you line up your assumptions. You'll tell them, look, I have an assumption of X, Y, Z. بعدين هم حيقولوا لك لا خلاص you don't need your assumptions. Take this specific data. Or you can ask for this specific data. Or you can tell them, look, do you have this specific data or I have an assumption that I can make. فهيقول لك okay, لا خلاص, go with your assumption. So it's really about your own approach of solving things, but also you need just to make sure that sometimes they have data and sometimes they want you to use your own assumption.
اوكي. السؤال الثاني الغالب إذا كان I need to cover the most of the cases، يعني هل في الغالب يكون في minimum number of cases to prepare يعني، ولا ما لها unlimited يعني، أو حتى لو مثلا دربت على many cases في الغالب تصير في يكون point مثلا يصير في case يمكن ما تغطي عليها based على السيكتور حق الكيس أو whatever يعني.
Well, there's no limit for let's say cases to be practiced. It really depends on you, your learning curve, and your enjoyment. Some people enjoy cases. Some people love to practice cases that they might really have like 1,000 cases to practice. But other people, they feel no, خلاص, it's a homework that I need to do. I'll just get done with it and that's it. So it really depends on you, your learning curve, and how you see yourself progressing. عرفت كيف؟ This is the most important thing. How you see yourself progressing, and if you plateaued, this is a red flag. بس نفس الوقت, how can you know that there's some areas to explore or that you need to practice more through mock cases? What does this mean? You have some mock partners, let's say case partners. You case with someone, you tell them, look guys, yeah. عرفت كيف؟ It's mostly through mock cases. تكلم رافائيل تقول له look Raphael, please would love to practice together. He will give you a case and you will give him a case, and then they'll highlight specific areas of improvement that you need to have because they're the outsiders. So this is the most important thing. Yes, practicing on your own is important, but also having a partner that can highlight your failures or at least your areas of improvement is super important. Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So And hopefully I answered your question. There's a question from Ibrahim في chat. Maybe we can answer that. Can you elaborate on the candidate-led interview and interviewer-led? So mainly, الكانديديت طبعا كل شركة لها their own, each company has their own way of having cases. BCG, for example, is candidate-led, which means that the candidate steers the whole conversation, which means also, I would link it also to the Abdelaziz's question on how can I control the interview? You cannot really control the interview, but for BCG, you can control the interview and how it goes based on the answers حقتك and how you link it to the next steps in the future based on the logical sequencing, let's say you have in mind. Some companies have candidate-led, some other companies have interviewer-led. Just search about that in the internet and see what they have. Others, they have something different. They call it case studies, where you have like a case and you solve it at home. So it's totally different. Mostly they're technical, especially in the, let's say, logistics, supply chain, IT, cybersecurity. Usually they have these technical cases. Rafael, it's been a while since you've raised your hand. Tell me.
Thank you so much. Hello, what I wanted to know, from a personal point of view, I'm in progress for a consulting job with McKinsey. The thing is, how long can be the hiring process approximately?
How long can the process take?
Because I did the PSG end of September, and I'm still at that stage. It's been pretty much 2 months, you know. So I know it takes a while.
Answer at least.
No, they didn't.
Reach out to them. Tell them, look, guys, I've took the problem solving. What's the output out of it? Usually, you need to on a regular basis just check with your recruiter, so that maybe they forgot about it. But also at the same time, everyone has their own pace. So it really depends on the market, depends on the pressure on the recruiters, and also it really depends on you and when you prefer to have your interviews, because you have total control over when you have to, you can take an interview. You got me?
Okay,
from my from my personal experience, I got interviewed, my first interview, let's say it was November 2019, and I got into the company in Feb 2021.
Wow.
So mostly I decided that I didn't want to get into the company that fast.
Okay,
so
I
took my first interview in November 2019, and then I took my second in June 2020. So it was my personal decision, but
okay.
It really differs, because you have some extent, some control over when you want to have your interviews. And for some companies, especially McKinsey & Company, they recruit all year. So there's no limitation. But for others, they have some deadlines. They want to recruit, and they have October, for example. I think BCG has it on October. So they have some recruiting cycles that they need to close. But for other, you need just to ask around. For McKinsey, it's open all year long.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right. Thank you so much.
Reach out to your recruiter and just remind her, look, how was the result? I would love to continue on the process.
Okay, thank you so much. It was a really beneficial workshop. Thanks.
Alhamdulillah, good to hear. We have another question from Yusuf. Is there a website where you advise us for self-study? Well, there isn't really a specific website. Usually, case studies are available online, so you can reach out. لأنه business schools globally, and specifically in the US, they adore consulting. So they have developed these like case books, especially when you look at the business. Every single business school has developed their own. They have their own club, and also they have their own case books. So case books are enough for self-study. If you want to read a book, Case Interview Secrets is one, just to give you a high level. And also there's another one, which was, there are a couple of very famous books. You can read them, but they're not really, you can read them as an FYI, but practicing is the most important one. Yeah, just to answer directly the question, no, there is no specific website that I've used, at least. Cool. Walid, you have a question?
Yes. Maybe you mentioned the last step or the last question was using decision metrics to to compare.
Mm.
But in terms of choosing the factor, does that maybe let's say يحطنا بموقف الميسي ممكن يصير
Yeah, of
فيه
course. It's
ممكن
possible.
مثلا تكلمنا اكثر عن الميسي العام سواء في الفريم ورك في البدايه او لما نستعمل مثلا ماتريكس وحاجه اسمها.
So if I can just paraphrase your question is how can we make sure that we are MECE, right, in our answers? Is that right, Walid?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, they have, there's a saying that I love. You don't know what you don't know. So how would you know that you are MECE? You need to experience MECE-ness. And how can we experience MECE-ness? Through practice. So through practice, and then see the answers and think about them. Think about them. And always ask yourself whenever you answer a question, have I missed anything? There's the number question number one. And secondly, the second question should be, I haven't missed anything, right? Are these elements that I've identified, are they connected? Are they related? Can one become under the other? You need to ask yourself always these two questions to make sure that you are MECE. Have I considered everything? And secondly, out of the things that I've considered, are these related to each other? Because they shouldn't really be related that much. They should be mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. So collectively exhaustive means we've covered everything. Mutually exclusive means everyone stands on its own. Every single element stands on its own. How would you know? Over time, there's number one, through practice. And secondly, through being exposed to business news, let's say. So you would understand that specifically for the banking or financial services market, it's highly regulated. So you would understand that you need to consider regulations. You would understand some challenges faced by fintech, for example, through exposure to news and through exposure to economic, let's say, reporting, etc. So over time and practice, that's it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Cool, guys. Any other questions?
I guess we're done. Is there any other questions?
I hope that was beneficial for everyone. And please, if you have any other questions,
thank you so much, Walid.
just reach out to Walid, Saeed, and Abdullah, and they'll help you.
الله يعافيك. شكرا لك ماجستر، شكرا جزيلا. شرفتنا ونورتنا. بالذات كأول كيس إن شاء الله من بداية خير معك وليد. يعطيك العافية على وقتك. شكرا جزيلا والمعذرة على الإجراء.
لا أبد والله، حياك، والمعذرة تأخرت عليكم صراحة، بس hopefully كان مفيد الموضوع.
استفدنا منه، جزاك الله خير.
الله
هلا
يعافيك.
وسهلا.
شكرا جزيلا.